Book 10 of the Wheel of Time series, Crossroads of Twilight. We're going to do 2 in 1 day today, so let's see if I can get through it. So Crossroads of Twilight picks up with Gawain. At least the first substantial thing picks up with Gawain. And we quickly learn that his loyalty to the White Tower is pretty much gone, because they tried to kill him and his army of younglings. And that's a pretty good way to make sure someone loses their loyalty to you, is to try and kill them. He also learns that his sister Elayne is now supporting the rebels and not the White Tower, so if he had any motivation to be at the White Tower anymore, it's now definitely outweighed by his loyalty to his sister. Because we do know Gawain is a good brother, and he does love his sister. Now, we stay in the White Tower for the next character, and that's actually the Black Sister, who has been blackmailing Elayne, the head of the White Tower, and she's actually was her second in command, but is deposed, and it turns out that Elayne is basically saying, you will pay for what you've done to me, and she's lost her ability to blackmail Elayne. Her failure is then punished by Missana, one of the Forsaken, and it seems like Missana is going to either beat her really badly or kill her, but she is interrupted by Shardar Haran. Shardar Haran stops all channeling, just does it. It's like a Murdral that does that, so he's clearly not just your average Murdral, and he forbids Missana from killing this Black Sister, then basically says that he is the incarnation of the Dark One, and she'd be treated as such, or at least she'd be considered that. And this is a pretty big revelation to us, because it either means, one, the Dark One has a new vassal we've never seen before that he trusts so much that he can make that claim, or it is actually an incarnation of the Dark One. I believe it's kind of left up for which one it actually is. I like to think it actually is an incarnation of the Dark One, and he has enough power and reach at this point that he can do that. From here, we actually cut to a few sisters that are in the Red Ajah, and what they're discussing is the fact that the Black Tower is going to be a thing. It has too much power, it's growing too quickly, they can't destroy it, so they just need to find a way to contain or control it. And what they realize is the Red Ajah should no longer be hunting and killing men who can channel, but instead should bond them as warders. And that would actually, the implications of this are huge if this becomes a real thing, but because it means the White Tower and Black Tower would have this intense connection, and they would start becoming more intertwined, and way more stuff way in the future could happen between them. But it is interesting to see this shift happen from kill and hunt all men who can channel to control and contain. The sisters who are talking here actually have heard the rumors that the taint has been cleansed, so it's unclear whether or not they believe it. I think most of them deny it, but moving on. From here we cut to Perrin. Perrin has met with some of the Shan-Chan, and that has an army nearby, and they have agreed to help him wipe out the Shido, because the Shan-Chan don't like the Shido army being in the lands that they're trying to take. So they actually meet up and team up, and during this time, Tam, Rand's father, also arrives and meets up with Rand with more men from the two rivers. So Perrin's army just grows and grows and grows. There's a few other things that happen during this time. Some of Perrin's men have been meeting with the Prophet and actually kind of agreeing and communicating with him, so that's causing a lot of discontent. It turns out the Prophet has actually killed some of Baralayne's men as well, although there's no proof, and there's a lot of shady stuff going on in the Prophet's camp. His men are essentially just scoundrels, rapists, thieves, and horrible people. Perrin's development during this time is rather intense, and is probably the most interesting thing going on with his entire storyline, because the actual story is not that interesting to me, but his development itself is. He becomes heartless. He tortures a Aiel who they capture to find out information about the Shadow army. He cuts off the Aiel's hand and threatens to remove his other hand and feet and let him roam as a footless, handless beggar forever unless he tells him the information he wants. And this actually works. Perrin successfully tortures an Aiel, which is in itself an amazing feat, but seeing this kind of kind-hearted big guy from before do this is a real shock and turn of character, and it's all because they have his wife. From here we cut to Faile, and as I said in my last video, not a whole lot really impactful happens with her. I'm not one of those people who hates Faile. I think she's fine as a character. I don't have enough time to really get in depth what happens with her, and it's just not worth getting into. Basically, during this time, she has an Aiel guy who's hitting on her and trying to get her to leave her husband and be with him. She is more or less just rejecting him, and that's the biggest thing that's going on. There's a whole lot of inner politics in the Shido, but none of it really ends up mattering. Now we're going to cut to Elayne. She is gathering a lot of the lesser lords within Andor and gaining the votes from them to gain the throne. She needs a certain number, but she's still not quite there. She has gotten 4 of the major houses behind her, but she still needs a substantial amount more. But she is doing very well with what she has. Many people have expressed disapproval of the new head of her bodyguard, the guy that we know is, you know, a dark friend, and this guy, we even see him plotting everyone's murder at multiple points. Like, he's just confirmed a bad dude. It's not hiding it from us at all, and we're kind of just waiting for that whole situation to blow up. Now, there's an interesting political shift that happens with Elayne that really shows us that she's mature, she's a good leader, and she's willing to make hard decisions, and that's that she actually gives the sea folk 1 square mile of land within Andor, and this gives her all kinds of potential trade with them, future growth, and she actually gives up some of her own land, though, something a ruler of Andor has not done in generations. But it might look bad from the outside, but if you look at the benefits that she will have from this, it shows she's a strategical thinker who can think well ahead of what's actually happening. And I actually really like this moment for her. It shows her going from someone who cares more about the name and recognition to someone who cares more about the actual results and ramifications of their actions. And what she gets in exchange for this 1 square mile of land, in addition, is a bunch of channelers from the sea folk to come work for her and help her out, as well as the sea folk ships aiding Andor in its trade altogether. But now the sea folk do gain a square mile of actual land, something they've never had on the mainland of this world. From here, we're going to cut to Mat and Tuon. Now, Mat and Tuon kind of start getting to know each other and chilling a little bit. It's weird how they court each other, but they are very clearly courting each other. I'm not going to get super into it because there's just, honestly, I'd either have to get all the way into it or I'm just not going to do it. And it's not worth me getting all the way into it. It would double the length of this video. But there is an interesting moment where Tuon asks Mat if he remembers Arthur Hawkwing's face. This is an interesting moment because it shows that Tuon has great insight into Mat's mind and can tell that he has something going on that allows him to review the past. Of course, Mat denies it, but she doesn't really believe him, of course, because she can tell he's lying. Now, during this time, Mat learned the Golem killed the woman that had previously been kind of raping Mat, and it's an interesting moment where Mat never really loved this woman or anything, but he does feel bad because when he left, he tied her up and had to basically leave her in a vulnerable position in her room, and the Golem went in and beheaded her and drank her blood, and he feels responsible for this. Of course, this woman would have died from the Golem anyway if it had encountered her, but he just feels bad for the level of fear and pain that she must have been in, and he, of course, does feel responsible because it's Mat, and he does have a really big heart. Now, this all kind of wraps up with a scene where Tuon promises Mat she'll not try to escape, and this shifts the dynamic of what's going on from her being a prisoner to Mat actually willingly having the daughter of the Empress of Shan-Chan with him, and she just is very curious about him and wants to get to know him. Now, from here, we're going to cut to Egwene, and she has probably the most interesting storyline, at least build-up as well, in this entire book. This book is all build-up, and that's why this video is going to be shorter than the rest. This is the most just build-up book of the series. Egwene has gained a lot more authority over the Rebel Hall, and it's kind of badass to see her go from this fake Amyrlin they brought up as someone to manipulate to this powerful, respected person, even having never been an Aes Sedai. Now, Egwene makes the decision to let her hall open negotiations with the actual White Tower and Elaida, their one condition being Elaida must resign and go into exile and disgrace. Of course, they know the White Tower is not going to agree to this while Elaida's in power, so it's a good move from Elayne because it looks like she's willing to talk, but in reality, it's not going to resolve anything, and she gets to keep doing what she wants to do, which is take it down Elaida and this false White Tower. Now, Elaida has disbanded the Blue Ajah and says that it is no longer a part of the White Tower. This basically makes the split have much bigger future impacts if Elaida is not taken down, because it means the Blue Ajah will be forever gone. A lot of people pressure Egwene into then disbanding the Red Ajah in retaliation, and she refuses. She says, look, all Ajahs are a part of the White Tower, and we're not going to stoop to her level and get rid of one just because we tend to disagree with their politics. And during this time, Egwene okays an alliance with the Black Tower and the rebels, and this is pretty interesting because while the White Tower has tried to essentially either contain or destroy the Black Tower, the rebels have openly said, we'll work with you, which is again a pretty big shift. And this all wraps up with Egwene going on a mission to turn the chains that actually lock off the White Tower dock that are made of steel into a material called quaindiar, which essentially is a type of material that can't be broken or moved. And if she does this, it would prevent the White Tower from being resupplied by ships. She does successfully go in and change a large section of the chain to quaindiar, but she is also taken prisoner and discovered while she's doing this, and she is now a prisoner of the White Tower. So the leader of the rebels is now in total control of Elayne and whatever she chooses to do to her. And that is where this book ends. Thank you very much for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I hope you had a great day. Look for the next book, hopefully coming later today.